Truth with Consequences presents Vince Russo telling us the 5 female trailblazers that Stephanie McMahon has erased from history. Vince, why do you say Stephanie McMahon?
Oh my God, Matt, come on. Listen, Matt, one thing I learned in wrestling was, bro, you take a back seat to the talent. You're in the back. You always put the talent center stage. Vince McMahon himself taught me this. Without the talent, you have nothing. Zero. You have nothing without the talent. So you always treat the talent like stars. And here we are, Evolution, the grand finale of Evolution, whose photo op is right smack in the middle of that scene with all the girls on stage. That should have been the one time she should have stayed in the back and given those women the spotlight. She could not even help herself. That was not her moment to be out there. I would have never been out there in a million years.
So let's get to our list. Number 5, Luna Vachon.
How is Luna never mentioned? I mean, Matt, I worked with Luna. You want to talk about somebody that was the real deal. I mean, we know all about the Samoans and the bloodlines and all those guys in the business. They were born, they were bred to be professional wrestlers. I don't know if anybody was more bred to be a wrestler than Luna, and the great family and the great bloodlines and how much she loved the business and how serious she was. And, her, living her life, kayfabe and looking the part and never breaking character. And I mean, my God, if there was ever a picture of a female wrestler, I mean, it is Luna Vachon. And how in God's name do I never hear her mentioned?
So here's the question. With Luna Vachon, second generation wrestler, looked like $1 million, had a great gimmick. Why? Why is she buried?
I have maybe she doesn't fit the mold Stephanie McMahon wants. I don't know. I have no idea. You never see pictures of her. You never see a mention of her. You never hear about her laying the groundwork for what there is today. Nothing. Maybe she wasn't the wrestler that fit the mold for Stephanie McMahon. Now, listen, Luna had her demons. Luna died prematurely. I mean, I don't deny any of that, but I don't think the way a person dies or if they have any, addictions or demon, we all do. I don't think that should erase you from history. I mean, that's a disease like anything else.
Number 4, Sherri Martel.
Just another one in the same vein of Luna. These women back then were very, very prideful women. And here's why they were, Matt. It was a man's world. There were maybe 1 or 2 women in the territory. These girls had to fight for everything they had. They were absolute battlers. I mean, they were so down on the card. They were hardly used. They made the least amount of money, and they had to compete with the men, and they had to hang and bang with the men. But again, this is what I'm having an issue with. We know Sherri had her demons. We know Sherri had issues. That is a disease. I don't know how that plays into your legacy. Could you imagine, Matt, you're a music guy. Are you not a music guy?
Yes, I am.
What if we erased off the face of the world Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, and Janis Joplin because of the way they died? Do you know how freaking insane that is?
Is there anything else you can think of as to why she'd be erased? I know she was a very, I guess, active and enthusiastic person in real life.
Well, she was a woman that didn't get pushed around. I mean, Luna was a woman that didn't get pushed around. So if there were any examples of these women standing up to Vince or, in Vince's mind, not knowing their role, I don't know about that. So the personal side of it, Matt, like I don't know, but it just seems like when there is an early death, or there is an overdose, or there is an abuse to, whether it's drugs or prescription drugs, it almost seems like those people are erased. And I'm like, what does that have to do with what they contributed to the wrestling business?
Number
So
3,
again,
Medusa, Alondra Blais.
yeah, again, somebody who's in that same vein. These girls, Matt, when you look at Luna and when you look at Sherri and you look at Alondra, Medusa, these are all tough women. These are all tough women because they had to fight for anything. I remember having talks with Medusa. When Medusa was coming up, Sherri was the star. And we all know how tough Medusa is. And she told me stories of Sherri just used to beat the shit out of her as a shoot in the ring. I mean, that's how the women, if there was that one spot and you were fighting for that one spot. And I remember there wasn't even a WWF women's title at the time. And the only mainstay on the roster that was keeping it alive was Medusa. Now, they would bring in a Bull Nakano here and there to work with her. She was the only mainstay on the roster that was keeping women's wrestling alive. How is that not recognized?
How do you say that she is erased from history when she has been in Evolution? She's in the Hall of Fame. Are you saying maybe Medusa's erased from history, or do you think even Alondra Blais doesn't have her proper place?
Well, I mean, Medusa definitely doesn't exist because it wasn't a WWE creation. I think she gets an asterisk with stuff like that, but I think she deserves more. I just have a real problem with, suddenly there's a women's evolution because Stephanie McMahon says so, and none of these other women were trailblazers.
And I guess maybe the thing with Medusa is she should be positioned as the greatest of all time, or near the top as the greatest of all time, unquestionably. But she is kind of marginalized as one of these legends that just happens to come in.
Bingo, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt.
Number 2, someone that you've been closely associated with through history because of what you wrote for her and her presence during your years in WWF, Sable.
Yeah, this is a hard one to figure out. This is a really hard one to figure out because I know Sable sued the WWE and I know there was a huge lawsuit, but they brought her back after that. So we're not talking about the lawsuit being the issue here because they brought her back after that. Matt, here's what people don't understand about Sable. Okay. And when I talk about a best wrestler, to me, I don't care what you do in the ring. Did you put freaking asses in seats? Did people pay money to go see Sable? When I was working at the WWE during the Attitude Era, there was a time where Sable was getting the second biggest pop behind Stone Cold Steve Austin. Without a shadow of a doubt. It was when I heard that pop, I said to Vince, we've got to do more with her. We've got to do more with her.
Would you consider her one of the biggest ratings draws in the history of WWF?
Absolutely. Well, if we're talking about like sex appeal, the biggest woman's draw in the history of the WWF. But it's not just sex appeal. When I knew that we had to do more with her, I was the one that called Marc Mero first because I'm friends with Mark, and I'm like, Mark, like, we want to do more with Rena. I'm thinking, the WWE women's title. She had never worked a day in her life. So, Mark, see, this is different now between, we just talked about Triple H and China. Mark didn't make the decisions for Sable. Mark said, let me talk to Rena and see how she feels about it. Brought her on the phone, and now it was a 3-way. So we had this conversation, and basically that conversation ended with Mark saying he was going to train her and teach her how to work. Now go back, man, and look at her very first match. It was at a WrestleMania. Of course, she was in there with the best. And Luna Vachon. Luna Vachon, who this was not Luna's cup of tea. Luna didn't like the curvy girls with the pretty faces and the big boobs, but Luna was going to do business. You look at the first match that Sable ever had with a very limited amount of training, and she did not disappoint at all. Nobody gives her credit for that.
Absolutely. Was training Sable and having her wrestle and having her powerbomb him the biggest mistake that Marc Mero ever made for his career?
No, I think the biggest mistake he ever made in his career was bringing her in the business. I don't think it had anything to do with anything that happened in the ring or in the match. That's a show, Matt. Marc Mero is a show. I'm telling you right now, Marc Mero is a show.
You can look forward to that, of course. Before we get to number one, this is being brought to you by Truth with Consequences, our podcast available on Westwood One, where we peel back the curtain on some of the biggest moments in wrestling history with the man who was there. Make sure to check out Truth with Consequences. Also our Patreon, patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. And you're watching this on our YouTube, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Last but not least, because it's number one, the number one female trailblazer that Stephanie McMahon has erased from history, you say is China.
Oh, well, everybody knows. I mean, I don't even need to say it. And because I can't even find the right word to use. I want to say sad. I want to say embarrassing. I want to say it's petty. It's all those things. You know, for as brilliant as the McMahons are supposed to be, they are so transparent when it comes to certain things. Going to Saudi Arabia, just say we're getting a shitload of money and we're going. Don't freaking spin me. Don't tell me about building any bridges. Bullshit. We're getting a shitload of money and we're going. The same thing here with China. Don't tell me she's not in the WWE Hall of Fame because she had to make a living and she made a couple of pornographic films. Because if you're going to do that, let's go through the back. Let's do a background check of everybody in the WWE Hall of Fame. Let's people in WWE, WWF Hall of Fame have killed other people. Okay, bro, that's a fact. There are murderers in the WWE Hall of Fame. She has been wiped out of history by Stephanie McMahon because she had a relationship prior to meeting Stephanie with freaking China. And there was a history there. They had an affair behind China's back, kicked her to the curb, took her job away, stripped her of her name, and rather than put on a facade and celebrate China, they make no bones about it. Like, no, we're not going to mention her. We're not going to call her a trailblazer. We're not going to point her out as you know, setting the path for all these women to see today. We're just not going to mention her.
And you say that is 100% because China's relationship with her husband, previous relationship with her husband, Triple H.
100%. 100%.
Well, that's our list today, guys. You can look forward to more of these over on our YouTube, which is youtube.com/RussoCoonTWC. And make sure to check us out on Westwood One for more Vince Russo's list of truth.